All right, well, let's talk about what's going on in Ukraine. So, a big update today in Ukraine. Something actually big just washed up on the shore in Ukraine, and it proves what we've been saying here on this show, that Ukraine has a big problem on its hands. So, they are losing this war in a big way, and they're actually finally starting to admit it. They're finally starting to, they're kind of admitting it kind of in a roundabout way. So, what washed up on the shore? Well, here it is. Here's a look at what washed up on the shore today in Ukraine. This is in Odessa, the biggest port area, of course. This is a mine. Doesn't look like something. It looks like something from World War II, doesn't it? But in fact, no. This is recently deployed. It's not just any mine, though. These are Ukrainian mines that they've used to blockade their own ports. This one is in Odessa, as I mentioned, in Ukraine, and it is blocking their biggest port. So what does that mean? That means like all grain going in and out. There's no way. Any sort of heavy weapons or anything else that's trying to come in there.
So many questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Fire away your questions. Drop them like a mine.
Yes. Okay. So they discovered their own mine that they did not previously know was there.
No, they knew they were there. They put these mines there.
But it's not supposed to wash up on shore, because that's not how this works.
No, I mean, here's the thing. When you drop things into the ocean, you really don't have much control of them. If they're tied to a rope or whatever, great. How long does that rope last? They take them now to fields when they find them. But the bottom line is they don't know where any of these mines are. They're all over the damn place, right? So they are all over the place, and they don't know what to do with them. And now the Pentagon is actually admitting that these mines are blocking all Ukrainian ports, which means they've effectively stopped the flow of goods and equipment from coming into the country. So this was an amazing press conference. There's so many sound bites from this press conference that I want to play for you, but I won't. I'll show some restraint. This is General Mark Milley. He admits basically that these mines are blocking Ukrainian ports right now. And it's a major, major problem. Listen to Mark Milley on this port issue in Odessa.
The port, you're talking about Odessa. I think you're talking about Odessa. And obviously Odessa is a major port for Ukraine. It's their access to the sea and the outside world. And it becomes a significant vehicle by which grain, for example, is exported and other commodities coming out of Ukraine. And Ukraine is the largest, or one of the largest grain producers in the world. And thus far, because of mines, because of the Russian fleet, because of the risks associated with it, that has not happened here now, going on almost 90 days. So how important it is, I think it's quite important to the economy of Ukraine and well beyond. Many countries in the world depend on Ukrainian grain. So that's an example of the importance of it.
Doesn't he, by the way, when you look at him, like if you could like draw like what a picture, like a Bugs Bunny general.
Oh, yes.
Like what you would think like a general.
He is like a caricature of a military general.
Like a general with like a giant cigar. Like, let's go in there. We got to bomb these guys.
We're not happy about these bombs, you see.
So that's Mark Milley admitting that this is a shit show and that they have these mines all over the place and they can't get into these ports. So they put these mines there because they wanted to keep Russians out. And what they end up doing is they're keeping themselves out. And they're also keeping out the ability for us to use those ports to bring in any kind of other heavy weapons or light weapons or anything like that. So
now you would think that there'd be some tracking.
Oh, yeah.
So that you could go and pick those back up when you wanted to use that port again.
Just like you'd think that there'd be tracking of all of their mines that they have on land right now. Not only did they put these mines all over the sea, but they put them all over Ukraine and they don't know where they are. So Ukraine says we are going to basically invade Crimea towards the end of the year, and that's how this will all turn around. And the reason they give, by the way, let me pull this up here, the reason they give for moving into this area is that they are going to, that's how they will get heavy weapons back into this area, is that they will be able to bring in additional heavy weapons by going through Crimea. And they will be able to bring in additional heavy weapons, because that's the only way you'd be able to do it.
By the end of the year, though, I mean, this map looks like you don't have that kind of time.
Right, exactly. So by the end of the year, you're going to be able to do this?
And those words, right? I mean, forgive me for being cynical, but the United States only offered aid through the end of September, right?
Right.
And so how, right? Where? Is there another United States waiting in the wings to fund this? Or presumably just the United States?
Well, this is like the ultimate question right now. And so it really comes down to, how is Ukraine going to get these weapons? Is the United States going to continue to bring all of these weapons in? Are Western leaders going to do it? It was all on the lips of Davos over the past few days.
Or do we get like a credit since they're on hold? We don't have to keep spending that money, or is that money spent, right?
Right. No, I mean, I guess they'll just have to wait for it. I mean, the other big shoe to drop today was war criminal, former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. Yes, Kissinger of all people. Here he is. If you need a little reminder of what this guy is, here he is hanging out with his old pal, Richard Nixon. He was Secretary of State under Richard Nixon. So Kissinger, of all people, admits that Ukraine has lost and better give up their land to Russia before it's over. That's what Henry Kissinger said at Davos. He says Ukraine must make Russia concessions to end conflict. Kissinger warns against escalating Ukraine conflict, urges peace deal with Russia.
That's
because it's
interesting.
over. Now, just for some context here, Kissinger has got a lot done in his first 2 years in office when he was with Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, of course, he helped sabotage the Vietnamese peace talks for his own political gain. He expanded the war into Laos and Cambodia, therefore destabilizing the entire region, which paved the way for the rise of the Khmer Rouge and the death of up to 2 million people, and advocated for the bombing of, in his own words, anything that moves. His most famous quote, "Let's bomb anything that moves."
Oh, yes.
And in 1971, Kissinger backed Pakistan in its war against Bangladesh, despite evidence of the massacre and rape there. Then in 1973, if we forgot, he orchestrated a military coup against the democratically elected Allende regime of Chile, installing instead the violently oppressive Pinochet dictatorship. So that's Henry Kissinger for you, who's now, I guess, trying to remake himself at 98, 99 years old now as like a dove. Like we're almost going to forget that he's a hawk, but he's basically saying, you guys have lost. The only way for this to end in any kind of, smart way is for you guys to give up. Here he is. Henry Kissinger says Ukraine must make Russia concessions to end conflict. Give up the land.
May I just
That's it.
point out a theme here, if
What's the
I may, is that last week we had this Freudian confession from George W. Bush.
Right.
And now Henry Kissinger is a harbinger of peace. Maybe these violent men
I thought about that. Yeah.
have this peaceful reckoning in their old age, because with age comes this wisdom, and they think, wow, I wish I hadn't been so murderous and had so much bloodlust.
Maybe.
And maybe we should listen.
Maybe. What do you guys think in the chat? Do you think that that's the case? That these guys are like coming to a point in their life when they're like, maybe this is what we need to do now. We need to, we need to come back. We need to be peaceful.
I'm just saying that's kind of a nice thread at this point in time when Congress has bloodlust, for sure. It seems to be the appetite. So, yeah.
Well, okay. So let's unpack this Henry Kissinger thing a little bit more, because immediately, of course, if you're a war hawk and you don't want this, you're immediately going to jump on this. And here's exactly what a lot of the Western press did. Henry Kissinger is wrong. Ukraine should get Russian territory. So now, this is the Western, right? This is the United States. No. We're going to funnel heavy weapons into this area, and we're going to take over Crimea. We're going to push into the Donbass region. We're going to take over Donetsk and Luhansk, and we're literally going to fortify those areas, because that's the only way that this ends. Even though Noam Chomsky, of course, what did Noam Chomsky say, right?
Noam Chomsky said that the West is dragging Ukraine into a conflict that will take every last Ukrainian until they are allowed to back down. And the only way out of this is either Ukraine falters or there's peace talks, which Western forces are actively discouraging.
Yeah, exactly. And he said, look, the issue is, and I think he makes a great point here, is that the only way that this ends is by Russia winning some of this land. There is no way that we can go into this region and continue to support this war, because it will or to overthrow Russia or to move against Russia. He says it would totally disrupt Europe. It would totally destabilize the entire region. It cannot happen. We shouldn't even attempt it. And I just wonder if, anybody in the White House is listening to this, or are they sitting back saying, "Oh, come on, Henry, You're 98 years old. You clearly don't know what you're talking about.
Or they're just hoping that people, are kind of like, is he alive? Do
Right.
we have to listen to him? I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website, to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.